Okay, and with that, we'll go with call to the public. And for the speakers and call to the public, you have 5 minutes on the podium, and we cannot answer or discuss anything with you. We can just hear what you say. Okay, so first speaker would be Donna Jackson Houston. Yes, please state your name and your address for the record. You got to press the green. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you. I was here last November. You would think I would remember. So, thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Garino, City Council, staff, community of Nogales. My name is Donna Jackson Houston, and I'm the founder and president of the Nogales Buffalo Soldiers Legacy Association. I want to thank you here before I get on the plane. This was just an amazing weekend honoring the Buffalo Soldiers who served at Camp Little over 100 years ago, and it was amazing beyond my dreams when I thought about this 6 months ago and collaborated with the city and the descendants. It was just beautifully turned out, and I look forward to doing this in the future. And I believe I have the support of the mayor and council for doing it in the future. And I and Faith and Chris from Primera Alta Historical Society, we just got here minutes ago from taking a field trip to Fort Huachuca and Camp Naco. And we are looking to incorporating that possibly into next year. So even though it was just a couple of days ago, we are already preparing for next year. So I might be here at a meeting announcing again, getting your support, but same time next year, right?
Yes.
Thank you. And I would be remiss if I would not. Nogales International, well, they had just been instrumental in supporting us, and they just did a beautiful article on the event. So thank you to Nogales International also. Thank you to everybody. See you this time next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Thank you. Next is Faith Posey. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Okay, the name is Faith Posey. Address is 370 Anza Drive in Nogales. And good evening, Mayor and council members. I am wearing 3 hats tonight. First, as the creator of a portion of the exhibit at the Primera Alta, I would like to think each and every one of you will get down there to take a good look at it. And I learned a lot of things putting it together. And hopefully we discovered a few unknown facts about Camp Little that you will find fascinating as well. Okay, my second hat is a special thank you to all of the cooperation we got from city workers and the Parks Department in putting together the events both on the street on Morley and at the cemetery. We really appreciate that. The third hat has to do with what's coming up, which is the Mingus Centennial celebration on April 23rd. And we hope to have most of you there because the city was so involved in that memorial structure. And we will be having a jazz festival to go with it. So thank you again.
Thank you. Next is Christine Cortland. State your name and your address for the record, Christine. Thank you.
I don't wear a hat right now. I probably should. My name is Christine Cortland. I live at 344 West Noon Street, Nogales, Arizona. And I'm glad to be here tonight to speak to you, esteemed mayor and councilmen and women. We thank you so much for so many things from P. Media Alta Historical Society, your museum. In so many ways, we exist because of you. Of course, that's the original city building. So I invite you and with open arms to visit the museum, especially at this time with this very special, unique exhibit, which Faith Posey very humbly spoke of. It really all of her work there, and I hope that you will go and appreciate what you see there, what has been done. And without the leadership and friendship of Donna Jackson Houston here, this wouldn't have been possible. It's the most amazing family story, and we will never forget this now. Because they just really recently found out about these connections. So it's part of our history here, and it's a story that is going to be continued to be told as we go along, and we hope to have that opportunity next year as well. And that trip today was really quite the road trip. We're not going to tell any secrets about it right now, but we will invite you back to whatever we can come up with. So I want to give special thanks as we speak of the parade, the Christmas parade. I want to give special thanks to the City of Nogales Public Works Department for hanging that wreath and those bells up on our balcony that night for the parade and for the month of December. It was so beautiful. It made me so happy to see that. And I don't know when the last time is that we had those lights up there on that, lighting up that balcony that has been used for many things. So thank you. And they also helped in many ways in our museum work there to keep things maintained. So many, many thanks to you. So once again, I invite the public, you, and you, as representatives of our government, to please come and don't miss this exhibit. It should be international news. It's quite something, and especially now that we are in the beginning of National Black History Month. We'll go on. All right. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Oh, and by the way, I would like to also invite each one of you to become members of our group. And I'm sorry I didn't bring membership forms, but I can send some because I think that collaboration is very important for us to have with you. And anybody who here in the public who is not a member, please consider doing so. It's us, you know, it's Santa Cruz County, it's P. Media Alta, for heaven's sakes. So thank you again.
Thank you. We have one more. What's that? Sí. Next is Vicki. Vicki Barton. Vicki, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Vicki Barton, Boys and Girls Club, 590 North Tyler Avenue in Nogales. About 4 years ago, in fact, 4 years ago this month, I was here because the roof collapsed at the Boys and Girls Club from the rain. And I didn't know it then, nor did you, but that was the beginning of a journey. And but the journey is over. And the ceiling and the roof at the Boys and Girls Club have been totally refurbished. And we have a new HVAC system, and we have heat. And we're going to have air conditioning. We haven't got a chance to try that out yet, but the heat is fantastic. The noise level has gone down 110%. You just can't believe it. The facility is totally changed. So all of the renovations were done to the old armory portion of the building. And I'd like to invite you all to stop by and take a look at it, because it's thanks to you over the last 4 years that this has come to fruition in a partnership with the county and the Boys and Girls Club in the city. And I'd like to thank John and Mike. They walked me through all the steps that we needed to be able to get this far. So it's like almost a $500,000 improvement to the building that's owned by the city. So I want to thank you guys for supporting us through this and helping us get through the little bumps that we had along the way. So, and thank you for this. We never won anything before, so this is awesome. Thank you all very
You're welcome.
much.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you. We don't have anybody else call to the public? I don't. No? Nothing else? Okay. We'll move to number 4, financial monthly report. John, you take care of this financial monthly report? Or?
Yes, sir. We have our finance director here to give the financial report. Jean, please proceed.
My reports are never as exciting as a call to the public's. They're just not. I gave you all a physical copy of the reports tonight, and I did staple them together, and I just thought of that a few minutes ago that I probably shouldn't have stapled them. It would have been easier to go through it if it wasn't, and I apologize for that. Tonight, I present to you the December numbers, which December is 6 months, so everything should be right about 50%. So as we go through, it'll be 50% of everything. If you look at the general fund, which is our table A, our revenues are at $15,283,244. And our expenses are at $13,376,069. Oh, sure.
All the people in the line for the parade, they want to take a picture with the members of the council. So I'm gonna have them come in here. We'll get together. All right?
Okay.
We're waiting out there. Okay. Just
Sure, no problem.
Pues ellas abajo para que no nos tapemos.
Bueno, pónganse como quieran, acomódense ahí ustedes.
Primero ella, nosotros ahorita pasamos.
Ok, uno por uno.
No, quiero un lugar.
Ok, primero en tercer lugar. Ok.
Over here, Vicki.
Okay. Okay, who's going to take the picture? Kathy. Kathy. Judy, Kathy, picture time. Okay. Okay, gracias. Thank you. Okay, second place.
Don't be shy, come on. You're okay. It was a group effort.
Un poquito para allá se pueden hacer un poquito.
Un poquito más.
Más para allá, para que esté en el puro medio, al centro. Aquí, ahí está. Perfecto.
Thank you.
Bueno, una más.
Oye, ¿me las mandas por email, por favor? Mike.
Mike, M-I-K-E.
K-I-D.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yo tampoco, la primera vez que... Yeah. First prize, ¿son los del Sacred Heart? Y eso que nosotros estamos aquí arriba y ustedes están más altas.
¿Viste? ¿Está padre?
Muchísimas gracias.
Hasta luego. Gracias a ustedes.
Te ganaron a medias.
Sí, es que se me pasó. Thank you, John. Okay, we're back.
Okay, exciting. So that was Table A. Table B is our local sales tax. For the month of December, we brought in $1,096,881, which it's $757,405 more than last year at this point. But you'll notice in my memo that part of December of 2020 was booked into January of 2021. So even though it shows we are 1.3 million over where we were last year, next month will even out a little bit more. We're still in the positive and we'll stay that way, which is wonderful. But you will notice the numbers change a little bit because of the way they booked them last year. So our shared revenues are also still higher on Table A by $305,000 for the whole year. Now, if you move on to Table C, that is our general fund expenditures per department. We still have a few that are over our 50%. They are being watched daily. And some of them are getting closer. We do have the Nogales rides, which sits kind of high. And that is due to a lot of vehicle maintenance that needed to be done this year that was not expected. So that is why Nogales rides is as high as it is. If you move on to Table D. Oh, sure.
On the final little mayor, on the final little building.
Mhm.
A little bit about that, yeah.
So basically with the Palo Duro building, we pay utilities. And that's it. All we have budgeted is utilities for the Palo Duro building. So water, electricity. Okay, if we move on to Table D, that is our HERF and overweight. Our revenue for HERF at this point is $1,202,587. And our overweight fees revenue coming in is $135,769. And for our expenditures for HERF is $1,388,575. And our expenditures for the overweight is $643,156. At this point, our expenditures are much lower than our revenue. If we move on to Table E, this is our sewer fund. At this point, we have brought in $1,757,432, which is about 46%, so still a little low. And our expenditures are $1,357,493, which is at 59%. If we move on to Table F, which is our water fund, we have brought in $1,918,082, which is right at 50%. And our expenditures are at $2,621,899, which is 51%. And then Table G, the final table, is our sanitation. We have brought in $1,423,722. which is 46%, and we have paid out $1,167,047, which is 36%. Are there any questions on any of these tables? Okay. The next little bit on your report from me is the water and sewer delinquent accounts. At this point, we have 6,112 active utility accounts. That is all of our water accounts and then our sewer accounts. We have 417 current accounts that are on contracts, which totals $175,976.36. That's down $18,896 from last month. And in fact, over the last 3 days, we have had an additional 6, maybe 7, have come in and paid their accounts in full. So next month you will see another drop, which was very nice to see that happen. The 122 delinquent accounts in the sewer equal $310,838, and these $5,000. Those accounts are the ones that we cannot shut off. So it's up to, that's part of our legal department. Yeah, those are the ones that our legal department is taking care of. And I guess when you get served a letter by a police officer, you come pay your bill. So we've had quite a few of those starting to come in now too. On the second page, you will see the few businesses that we're still watching. Most of them, there's only a few on there. They're on contracts. The first one shows, they have their contract, but at this point they are current. They are not late on their bill. The second business is 1 month behind, and they've already been contacted this month regarding it. The third one, they're 1 month behind also. Yes.
I have a question on Mayor. Yes, go ahead. At Chavito, is that the old building on Elm Street?
Yes.
Is that building even functioning?
Yes.
They say. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. There are people there, yes. No payments have been made on that one except for a $500 payment since April of 2020. And so we're in talks with them at this point. And of course, the last one has been turned over to legal for collections on there. We did receive a payment of $5,000 towards that account. So we're getting somewhere on that one.
And that one also is sewer.
Yes, and that one is just sewer. Yeah, it's just a sewer account. And then, Mr. Mayor, you had asked me to compare the numbers from last year to this year, and that's what's the final part there. So last year, at the end of January, we only had 148 accounts that were on a contract, and it was only a total of $30,650. As you can see, right now we're at 417 contracts at 175,000. That just means that people are trying to take care of their bills. And we know that last year in January, we were under the moratorium still, so people had that leeway of not paying their bills yet. We did have more active accounts at that time. That could be partial sewer accounts that have shut down on their own. We're not sure why it's dropped. It hasn't dropped much. And then if you look at the last number, the amount outstanding last year was $868,000, and we're at $453,000 this year. Any questions on that account or on that? Sure.
Go ahead.
So some of these buildings are inside the city limits, right? And we provide water and sewer.
Yes.
And what they owe here is both water and sewer?
For the businesses,
Yes.
all of them except for the last one. The
Yes.
last one is simply sewer.
Uh-huh.
But the other ones, yes, they are water, sewer.
So we've never shut the water down before?
Well, one of those we have. Well, actually, two of those we have, yes. We shut them down last month. And then they came in and made a payment, made a contract, and now we've turned their water back on. I was at the one downtown when we shut it down.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions on that one? The last little bit that's on there was just a report. You guys were emailed it. Mr. Bonilla had asked me if I could just present monthly how many people have retired and what our payouts were. And so just in the month of January, we had 2 retirees, and the payouts were $27,484.15 total. It was 1 fire and 1 police. And then that second little bit deals with our ACR and our ACP, which is the amount that the city pays in to the ARS for people that we have rehired after they've already retired from the system. And that was all in the email you got last week, and then this is a physical copy. Are there any questions on that one?
Go ahead.
Mr. Bonillas requested that from you.
Yes.
Is that going to be in the report every month, or what he requested?
He's asking if we can do the retirees and the payouts monthly, so you guys can stay kind of on top of how much is being, and because the payouts is your sick and your vacation.
Yeah,
So that's the part he has asked.
Says that from you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Number 5, reports. Number 1, update and annexation. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a lot to report on. Oh, I was thinking bank building. I'm sorry. Annexation. My bad. Mr. Mayor, we had the meeting on the annexation, and we took a look at the maps and got those corrected and got the legal description, and we're moving forward on it. And we have Ms. Maria Mosk with the Planning Center, who's here to give her report on her activities on the annexation, Mr. Mayor. Maria?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Maria Mas, for the record, and I live, my office is in 2 East Congress, Tucson, Arizona. And you'll receive the minutes from the last meeting. And it's very interesting to me because in the December council meeting, we were talking about that strip of what is now annexation 3 has something in the future, and the future kind of came in a month. So this is where we are now. The land commissioner came and had a visit with the annexation team, and they're interested in annexing that area. You still are going to continue proceeding with the 2 concurrent annexations, 1 and 2, and then that's going to be a very slow process, number 3, and that's going to be negotiated with the State Land Department and all of the requirements which require a a pre-annexation agreement and a PAD, a plan area development, before they get to annex the land. So, and of course, all of this will happen if the board approved, but the commissioner is going to present the case to the board. So, so that's where we're at. The one little change of the last map that you saw is that in annexation 2, if you look at your maps in the minutes of that meeting, you will see that this portion here, the top portion of annexation 2, changed to just follow the boundary of the state land to make it cleaner, which was something that was mentioned in the previous council meeting. So that this whole section in here is now part of annexation 2, and then the piece of land in the middle continues to be pretty much the same around there, but it goes and follows the state land piece in that area. So that's the only change on the annexation maps. And currently, the surveyor completing the ALTA surveys and the legal descriptions is working on those 3 boundaries. So we will have the legal boundaries of those areas in a better, in a CAD, which is more accurate than a GIS map. But that's pretty much the only change from the last meeting in December, in addition to having that area brought in, if that is in the interest of the city. It appears to be in the interest of the state. But again, we would not know until that is presented to the state board. So that's, if you have any questions, I think everything was described pretty much in those minutes. And that deal primarily with the process of what would entail to do the annexation for state land. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to respond to those.
Go ahead, Council.
Well, I have a lot of questions, but I'm going to wait for this report to be done, the study to be done. I have been asked a lot of questions about annexation on the community, and I like to make sure that I have all the facts together. And what I do have is an old study that Mr. Kissinger, I requested from Mr. Kissinger way back in January when I started as a council member. So I don't know what's changed, from the last study, because I haven't really received anything other than the maps and stuff.
And
We can't hear.
We can't hear you, Councilman.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I have it on.
You're having a side conversation with the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we can't hear you.
With a witness?
Yeah.
Okay, you're in court? Okay. All right, well, I'll speak a little louder. So, okay, thank you, John. Okay. So it would be, so like I said again, I don't have enough information. I've been asked a lot about annexation. I've emailed Mr. Massey to give me some information about annexation, and he has done so, and I have read it over. So can you give us like a timeline?
yes,
Thank
and
you.
actually,
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, and I have the report, the new report here. Is going to be similar in some ways to the one before, but the calculations change because we have different information at this time with the share revenues that are more recent and those kinds of things. Also, it changes because the areas change, so we're adding areas to this one. So the report is going to do exactly what you're asking for. It's going to do list all of the legal requirements, clarify all of the questions that may come from the public related to annexation, and then it's also going to include the benefits to those property owners that are within the annexation area and coming into the city, and also the benefits to the city in terms of share revenues from the state. And so all of that is going to be part of this report. It's ready for review by staff. So the reason you don't have it yet is because we want staff to go over it and let us know if we missed something or if there's something that is incorrect in terms of, citing anything that we cite in there. So this will be ready as soon as we get staff to review it. And so for the next council meeting, you will definitely have this in advance to be able to look at it. In addition to this report, which is the report that most people read, because it's the one that includes all of the benefits and and addresses all of the questions like school districts or taxes or this or that. There's a fiscal analysis that is being prepared, but we needed this information, and we also needed the ALTA surveys to be completed before that can be prepared. That's going to deal not only with revenues but also cost. So it's going to be more like a balance instead of being the gross of what might be coming in share revenues or tax revenues. It will be more looking at what is the potential for those specific areas within the 3 annexation areas. Does that answer your question? So that will come possibly for the next meeting. It takes 3 to 4 weeks for the ESI Corporation to complete that. And so we are going to just give them the go as soon as we get this review. And that's that. So the timeline is pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maria. I have another question. Mr. Massey, could you give us this report a few days before the next scheduled meeting?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think we're talking about a special meeting next week. I don't know that we'll have that available by next week, but certainly by the next regular meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Maria, in the meeting, and I'm also getting the questions, is the coverage, you talked about schools, but, people are also asking, safety, fire department, police department and all that, so.
Yeah, all of those.
All that is
All of
gonna
the
be covered?
services of the city are addressed in the report.
Okay.
And actually, in terms of school, nothing changes because the school are not even regulated by the city, they're regulated by the state. So whatever the kids go to school are going to continue to go, doesn't matter if they're in the city or in the county. So that doesn't impact. But all of those questions that people might have about those,
It just
all
got
of
to
the
be
different
clarified so
services,
everybody knows what's
Yes.
going on.
yes, all of that will be included in the report.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Mr. Massey, is this a special meeting or special session? Is it going to be open to the public?
Oh,
Can we-
yes. Yes, and we'll talk about the future agenda items when we talk
Okay.
about our meeting next week.
Anybody else? No? Well, Maria, we already have somebody put up a billboard against us. All right.
Yeah, well, the report is going to be
But
very
it's
helpful.
good. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, number 2, update city manager recruitment. John?
Mr. Mayor, I spoke with our recruiter for the city manager. She has 27 applications for mayor and council to go over. We are scheduling an executive session with mayor and council next Wednesday. That's a week from today at 4 p.m., immediately after the housing meeting that's anticipated to be at 3 p.m. And Ms. Darby will be present virtually to go over the 27 applications that she had so far this week for your selection of the city manager.
Is that when
For
we're
your
going to be
review.
getting the names and...
She'll have 27 applications and resumes for your review to go over.
And at that time, we're going to pick them, or whoever we're just going to get them completely and review them ourselves? How are we going to do that? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm gonna allow her to present to you the 27
Okay.
applications. I'm sure in that meeting you will give us directions on your next step on how you
Okay.
want to proceed with the process.
All right. Thank you, John.
Yes, sir.
Is there anybody else have anything? Yes, go ahead.
Is there any way you get the information prior to the meeting? That way we could look at it? Look at it.
I can
Just have a little
ask.
bit more,
I'm sorry.
be able to have a better discussion on what we see instead of reading everything at the meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I can definitely reach out to Ms. Darber tomorrow and ask her if it would be appropriate to release those applications to the council prior to the meeting, and I'll follow her lead on where we go with that. Uh-huh.
Anything else? No? All right, let's go to presentations. 6, Proclamation, Early Childhood Education Awareness Month. I asked Mr. Bonilla if he could do the honors of reading the proclamation. Mr. Bonilla.
Thank you, Mayor. Early Childhood Education Awareness Month. To raise awareness of and build public support for the importance of early childhood development and health, whereas early childhood years are when the brain grows and develops the most. In fact, 90% of the children's brain develops by the age of 5, before they enter kindergarten. Whereas scientific research has shown that a child's experiences in their early years affect how their brain develops. Research has also proven that kids with quality early childhood experiences do better in school and are more likely to go to college and have successful careers. They also tend to be healthier and demand less from public welfare system. Whereas the goal of Santa Cruz County School Superintendent Alfredo I. Velasquez in 2022 is to raise community awareness about the support system Santa Cruz County has for families that have children from 0 to 5 years of age. Whereas Early Childhood Education Awareness Month is sponsored by the Santa Cruz County School Superintendent's Office, First Things First, Mariposa Community Health Center, University of Arizona Family Resource Centers, Nogales, Patagonia, and Rio Rico, Child and Family Resources Incorporated, Child Care Resource and Referral City of Nogales, Nogales Rotary Club, Nogales Santa Cruz County Libraries, Santa Cruz County, Nogales Unified School District Number 1, Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District Number 35, Patagonia Public Schools District Number 6 and 20, Sonoira Elementary District Number 25, Santa Cruz Elementary District Number 28, charter schools, private schools, Child Parent Centers Incorporated, Nogales, Challenger, Western, and Rio Rico Head Start Centers, preschools, and child care providers. Whereas during the month of February, informative messages will be communicated to the community via social media, radio, and signage concerning young children with themes including the Santa Cruz County School Superintendent's Office promoting early registration for Kindergarten Early Childhood Leadership Awards and the Santa Cruz Regional Partnership Council of First Things First, Child and Family Resources Incorporated, along the University of Arizona Family Resource Centers promoting both behavioral and mental health, and Mariposa Community Health promoting the importance of wellness checks, dental care, and vaccines. And STEM-related activities, grab and go activities, and virtual book club at the Nogales Santa Cruz County Libraries. Now, therefore, I, Arturo Garino, Mayor of the City of Nogales, Arizona, do hereby proclaim February 2022 as Early Childhood Education Awareness Month.
Thank you very much, Councilman Bonilla. Number 2, presentation by Noemi Elizalde, Children's Advocacy Center of Southern Arizona. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Ready? There are actually 3 of us who are going to present, and we'll each introduce ourselves as we come up so that you know who's talking to you. Our intent today is to keep you updated as the decision makers of the city about what's happening in terms of family safety in Nogales. I push down. I do push down. So my name is Marie Fordney, and I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center of Southern Arizona. We've partnered with Nogales and Santa Cruz County since we were founded in 1996. We serve all of Southern Arizona, Pima, Santa Cruz, Cochise, Graham, and Greenlee counties. I'm going to address what a large geographic area that is and what a challenge that is in a minute. Our mission is to provide a safe, compassionate, and healing environment for children who have been a victim or have witnessed a crime. And we do 3 things for these kiddos. The first is that we provide case coordination, meaning that we bring in the investigators from law enforcement and Department of Child Safety and social service providers so that everybody can discuss the case, get on the same page, and make sure that everything's done, that everything that is done from the moment we begin the investigation all the way through is focused on healing for that child and their family. So case coordination is a really important part of what we do. The second piece is evidence collection. And for that, we provide forensic interviews and medical exams. The forensic interview gathers the child's clear account of what it is that happened. The medical exam might gather DNA evidence from their body or other evidence. Maybe there's bruising, but maybe also a lot of times we get to tell them that they're just fine. And we love that part. That's our favorite. And then in addition to the case coordination and evidence collection, the last thing that we currently do for child victims and witnesses is healing services. And our advocates will meet with the family and make sure that even that family member is on board with making sure that that child has what they need to heal. Sometimes the abuser is also the major breadwinner, the person who's paying the bills in the home. And so that will add to the situation of abuse. It'll add a financial strain. And so sometimes we have grocery store gift cards we can give to them. We always have clothing and snacks. But then we work a lot with partners who can provide more, like shelter or food, like a food bank. Whatever it is that that family needs, we're going to connect them. We provide crisis counseling on site, connection to long-term therapy, and we help victims with legal things like filing orders of protection or what was I going to say? Oh, victim compensation, which is an important piece that comes from the county and the state, and not so much from the city. So that's what's currently happening at the Children's Advocacy Center. We are partnering with Mariposa Community Health Center to try and do a better job of reaching that huge geographic area. Right now, and we're going to talk about this more, but right now, victims and witnesses from Santa Cruz County and from Nogales specifically have to come all the way to Tucson for some of their services. I think that's not right. I think that everyone deserves access to excellent services in their own community. And so we're working towards that, and we'll tell you more about that in a minute.
My name is Noemi Elizalde. I am the Mobile Advocacy Program Coordinator for the Children's Advocacy Center in Southern Arizona. So I actually come from Nogales. I recently got this new job in Tucson, Arizona. I worked for Mariposa for 8 years, and I was their medical advocacy program coordinator. So this area, I've always had a passion for it for the past 8 years of working with our community, working with our victims, and seeing what our community can do as we're so united to help these clients out. I've always when this opportunity came about, it was something like, oh, I can still help my community out, and it would engage everyone and all these services that our community deserves. So what we want to talk about is our Santa Cruz County statistics. Thanks to the Nogales Police Department, Department of Child Safety, and the Sheriff's Department, we were able to collect this data that's available to the public, but it's just alarming as to how many domestic violence situations there is, how many child abuse cases, sexual assaults, how many children are being removed from their homes, what kind of service is provided to these families. And you'll see the Sheriff's Department cases, and these are just the reported. And as many of us know, a lot of the cases that I would see as an advocate at Mariposa, it didn't involve law enforcement. It didn't involve anyone reporting it. It was mainly walk-ins or word of mouth. And at the center, which is what Yada's going to talk a little bit about the services that are available there, they are cases that are brought by the provider. They are cases that, hey, my friend told me that there's services here, that there's help here. And if these cases are so high at the moment, and as you can see for DCS, it's in the last 6 months. So that's something alarming for our community as to what's happening to these kids, what kind of services are being provided, and how can we enhance these services, which is what Yada's going to be talking about what's going on right now in Santa Cruz County.
Good evening, I'm Yara Castro. I'm with Mariposa Community Health Center. I'm the Health and Social Services Manager over there. One of the programs that I oversee is our domestic violence and sexual assault programs. And with that, and along with other programming at the clinic, we do, is it down? There it is. We collaborate with multiple community partners, local partners, and of course, out-of-town partners, which includes the Advocacy Center. Like Marie mentioned, we use the Southern Arizona Children's Advocacy Center mostly for out-of-town forensic exams for our sexual assault victims. Usually our advocates would have to transport a victim to the center or to TMC, which is what was happening before we started working closer with the Advocacy Center. And of course, that takes a lot of time. The same thing is out-of-town forensic interviews for children's and child abuse cases. We currently provide the majority of the advocacy for domestic violence and sexual violence cases in the county. We work very closely with the county attorney's office and their victim services department. We work closely with the Mexican consulate as well and their victim services department and legal services. We work with our local behavioral health agencies, pretty much all of them, HOPE, Penal Hispanic, CHA, and others. We work very closely with Department of Child Safety. They refer families that have domestic violence involvement that might need extra support, guidance, including support groups or other educational classes that we can offer. We work closely with law enforcement, both Sheriff's Department, Nogales Police Department, and we meet regularly. In the past, probably the last couple of years, we were able to create a sexual assault response protocol that consisted of all of the agencies that I mentioned and some that I might have missed, and what is everybody's role in responding to sexual assault. And we started talking and exploring a little bit further some of those barriers that Marie mentioned as well right now, that we're trying to look at them so we have more accessible services, exams for victims of violence here. Currently at the clinic, through our medical advocacy program, we provide outreach and awareness on domestic violence, sexual violence. I don't know if you saw, there was a couple of billboards for several months last year on the freeway and on Grand Avenue. Hopefully we could get some more back up. We work closely with the school, superintendent's office, trying to promote not only the outreach and awareness, but also the knowledge of the services that exist. Just like we're able to serve them in the clinic and connect them to access to care, health insurance, anything else that they might need. They don't necessarily have to be a patient of the clinic. People who participate in our medical advocacy program can be anywhere from Santa Cruz County. And again, they guide the service. So if they don't want to be a patient of the clinic, we don't force them to be. We provide one-on-one brief crisis intervention. We provide short-term case management. It's a mobile advocacy program, which means that we will go to the individual wherever they're at and provide the service. We work very closely with the courts, and we get calls daily to go and support victims to fill out their orders of protection, and including orders of injunction. Of course, those that are involved in domestic violence, we try to continue following up with them and engaging them in our services. We work closely with, like I said, all the other behavioral health services in trying to coordinate any care that they might need. We provide emergency assistance also to victims in need of, if they need to move out and need help with maybe a first month's rent or utilities or a deposit, we're able to support with that, as well with any other transportation need, gas vouchers, or we'll provide the transportation ourselves. Most recently, we worked very closely with Nogales Public Housing to provide, with the housing voucher program that they had, emergency housing voucher program with emphasis helping victims of domestic violence. And with that, we're expanding our housing efforts as well through all of this work and all of these connections. And another major component that we're working on is creating a domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking protocol, and also revising our sexual assault response protocol, which is where the CAC comes in as well to support that. So we're working with all of the partners that I mentioned previously to see what is everybody's role, what is their current response, and can that improve? We have seen an increase not only in the data that's provided by law enforcement, but also, like Noemi mentioned, a lot of the people from the clinic that go see providers, walk-ins, and community referrals. So a lot of it's heavier, I could tell you that. We are seeing a lot more involvement or connections with substance use, child abuse. So things are getting tougher for families and victims. I do want to say we don't ask anybody about their legal status or anything like that. We're really trying to remove any barriers for them to receive either the access of care, the support that they need, or the connection to resources that they might have. So that's a little bit. That is some of what we do through our domestic violence program, and why we feel it's so important, especially with the increase in numbers, that we're working closely to try to create maybe like a safer place and providing more of those local resources and collaborating so that we can better serve these victims. And I'll let Marie continue with what we're trying to plan.
So first, you should know that your community is amazing. Nogales Police is such a good partner. Mariposa is such a good partner. And for 25 years, we've operated the way we're operating, and it's just fine. These kids are getting to safety, and it's a good system. I just think it could be better, and I wanted to let you know what our plans are to make it better. So let me tell you what that looks like. The sexual assault services, the medical services are all in Tucson. It's either at the Child Advocacy Center, or if the child or adult sex assault victim needs emergency medical services, then they have to go to either TMC or to Banner, also in Tucson. So, I mean, it's nicer if they can go to the CAC. It's a little bit closer. Maybe it takes 40 minutes off of the total drive, but it's still a long time frame. This is the timeline, and you can look at it later, I know, because you have this, I believe you have the presentation. So this is when the protocol worked perfectly. This is how it's supposed to work. And you can see it's a 14-hour journey for this person who reports a sexual assault and then has to step through all of this. And you can see it could have been over at 2:30. That's when she starts having to go to Tucson to get the rest of her services. So that's the idea. There's a model called a Family Safety Center that could further integrate what we're doing and bring them here to this community. And we're looking right now for a space. We're gathering our partners and getting great response. I'm just saying this is an amazing community. You guys should be so proud to serve this community. The idea is a Family Safety Center puts everybody under one roof so there isn't travel for the victim, and especially, most importantly, there's not travel to another city for the victim. And they get all the services and support they need to survive and then thrive. And it's based on really strong principles. The model is shown to decrease trauma for the victim and their family, to increase rates of prosecution. It actually decreases domestic violence homicide. In every community that's had a Family Safety Center open, they've had fewer domestic violence homicides the year that they opened and then in the following years. And the other thing it does is there's really interesting research being done around hope, that you can actually measure hope and a person can learn hope as well. So if I come into the Family Safety Center and I'm feeling hopeless, I'm going to learn how to set goals and that I have the ability to achieve them. I'm going to be empowered in that way. And the Family Safety Center model has shown that it actually increases hope so that these victims literally thrive after doing it. So you're probably wondering, what am I asking for? Nothing right now, actually. Just keep being amazing, because you are. There will, as we're moving forward with the Family Safety Center, there are a lot of municipalities that fund the Family Safety Center 100%. We recently visited one in Nashville, where the city of Nashville just pays all the bills. That is not what we're going to ask you for. Relax. The Children's Advocacy Center is in this for good. We care about this community that we're supposed to be serving, and I believe in a better way that we are now. And so we're in this. We're going to provide a lot of financial support. At some point, there will be a request that you also have a contribution to the center. But it's not going to be huge like that. It's going to be something very manageable, and you'll see it coming like a freight train. Just like today I'm telling you, I'm going to ask you something later. You'll know way ahead that we're going to ask you something. What's a much more common model and more palatable is that many jurisdictions will pay a fee for each service. The county attorney is already paying us a fee for each service. Every exam and interview, there's a fee that's paid by the county attorney because it supports the prosecution so well. It's possible it could be a model just as simple as that, and the only change would be that there will be more reports because people will know there are services available. So that's our whole thing. Do you all have questions?
Well, I guess good presentation.
Long presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 3, presentation regarding charter provisions and state statutes on local elections procedures. Mr. Massey.
Yes, Mayor and members of council, this was something that was requested to be on the agenda by Councilmember Montiel. And so, there's some very routine dates, and I think everyone is aware of that we have a primary coming up in the first Tuesday of August, and the signatures of any candidate whose name they want their name on the ballot, that has to be turned in by August 4th to the clerk's office.
April.
April 4th, I'm sorry, yeah. They say August. Yeah, August 2nd is the election, and April 4th is the turn-in deadline to turn in ballots. And then there's, I have to pass this out. We have typically two election categories. One every 4 years for mayor, and then every 2 years for 3 council positions. And the council positions are at large, and for both categories, if any candidate receives a majority at the primary in August, then they're declared to have won that office as of the general election date, and then they would take possession of the office and be sworn in January. We have, of course, a council member who's not in his last year of office, who has indicated he wants to run for mayor. And so this statute that I'm passing out from Title 38 talks about how that process is managed. And so as of the date of a candidate who's not in their final year of their term, if they're running for another office, then when they turn in their signatures for that other office, then they have to resign. Okay, and then that creates a vacancy. And then we do have a charter provision as Section 11, and it's just written very small up there, but it was, this is the second page of Section 11, and I'll pass this out. And so our charter provision regarding Section 11 talks about what to do if a council position becomes vacant, including by resignation. And it depends upon the timing, but the council would normally fill that position by majority vote of the council. And it's for someone who is not yet or not then on the city council. Any elector of the city not then on city council could be voted to take the vacancy. Otherwise, depending upon the timing of the vacancy, it may be that the vacant position is presented to the voters at the ballot in August. So with that, is there any questions? I think that's just the situation. I think that's slightly unusual this year from the normal situation.
Thank you, Mr. Massey.
All right, thank you.
Number 4, presentation discussion regarding lease with Santa Cruz Children's Museum, Inc.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of council. I emailed to the council last week the lease that was signed a couple years ago, and we had a walkthrough last week by the Planning and Zoning Director, and we have a list of improvements that the lessee, the Children's Museum Incorporated, the nonprofit lessee, has made into the building. I've had further discussions since then with the attorney representing the Children's Museum, and he's indicated to me that the board members are, after COVID and after making some improvements into the building and realizing that many, many more improvements are needed, they're basically tendering the possession of the building back to the city. And so the attorney and I will work on the appropriate documents to make that happen. And that's unfortunate. It was a vision that hasn't come through. They have made substantial investment in the building. There's a clause in the lease that says that there's a monthly rent, but the rent can be offset based on their investment. And their investments seem to be much more than the monthly total of rent for the last 2 years or so, but nowhere's near the investment that they would need in order to trigger the clause, I think, in paragraph 20, I believe, that if they made some very significant and very specific improvements, then they would essentially lock in their possession of that property for 25 years. They're not going to try to do that. And the investments, although initially I asked the building department to go through there, see if they can validate and confirm the monies that they are posting as far as what they think the value of the investments are. But since it's so much more than what the rent is, I think that's kind of moot, and we'll just end up taking possession at a very early date, the next week or so.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, I read that memo on the contract, and there's a lot of violations of the lease there that I see, and also during the finance report, I noticed that the expenses for the water and utilities for that building are being paid by the city, which is part of the contract that the people that rented that place were supposed to. So what happens to those monies that the city's been paying for the utilities? Are they going to be reimbursed to the city?
At this point, Mayor, I don't contemplate doing that. I think this is a nonprofit. I'm not sure that they have any assets. If we were to go to court, Mayor, and allege those violations as a basis on which to terminate the lease, what we would basically get is possession, and that's what we're going to get very quickly.
Go ahead.
Mr. Massey, is that your legal opinion?
Well, my legal opinion is it's probably not worth pursuing the amounts that would be owed, especially based on the documentation that they have presented to us as far as what they have invested into the building. Although the building has continued to also deteriorate during that time. The grounds haven't been kept up. Windows have been broken. There's been vandalism going on there. That's whenever we have an unoccupied building, it's a beautiful opportunity for different people to take advantage and do bad things to the building. So our challenge, once we take possession, Mayor, is to take effective possession of it so that we can prevent that kind of damage from occurring out into the future.
I have one more question. Right. So we're absorbing the lost, if you will.
Well, yes, we're absorbing the loss, but we're also absorbing the improvements that they have made in the building. So it's a plus and a minus.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Massey, they haven't used the building at all?
That I don't know, Mayor, but I certainly don't believe they've used the building for the purpose that they stated it, which was a museum.
They haven't used our trash collection. They haven't used the water. They haven't used any of the building, except for when they were doing repairs on there. But as a business or a nonprofit generating trash and using our sewer system and our water, they haven't used it at all, have they?
That I would defer to the deputy city manager. Excuse me, Mayor.
No, Mr. Mayor, you're right. The water consumption has been zero. However, there is a charge for the service.
For the service itself.
The refuge, there is a charge for both refuse and sewer, but there's no consumption, and that's based off of just the minimum charges
Yeah, but
that
there
for
wouldn't
building.
be no reason for us asking for reimbursement of that.
There's no use of it, in other
There's
words.
no use of it.
Right.
All right.
But there is a bill that's produced monthly, but it's just for the city.
Yes.
So we're billing ourselves.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
do you know how they stand on their taxes? Is that property taxes or? Because item number 15 says that they're liable for all taxes, revenues.
I don't think there's any, I'll run that down. I don't think there's any outstanding taxes. It is a municipal-owned property, and it's always remained in the name of the city. So on that basis, there shouldn't be any property taxes. But the contemplation that I'm talking with the attorney is just a walk away, we take possession. And that is actually a very good result, because when you're talking about terminating a commercial lease and going through a legal process, it's lengthy and it's expensive. And so this is much better alternative, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Kissinger, is there any way we can clean up the area surrounding the building? Simple things like, cutting the grass and making it look a little bit more presentable so that the neighbors don't have to go by and see the weeds out of hand and, the building
Sure.
looking
Go ahead.
pretty bad.
So the city administration's plan for the building, as soon as we take possession of it, is to move a portion of our Parks and Rec into the facility as soon as possible, not immediately. We feel we can do that very easily. There's two reasons to do that. One is to clean it up and make it look a little bit more presentable. Two is to hopefully prevent vandalism, because they'll see that the building is being used and somebody's going there every day working. Three, it'll help us maintain the parks that we already have in Middle Hill, so we'll have staff there to start maintaining and to improve on the recently approved dog park, start looking at doing some trails. We've already met with the state parks, I think parks or state trails and parks or something, talking about future grants to build some trails around there for the bird watching, what have you. So we're kind of, at least on city staff's end, we're kind of excited that this is going to occur and be able to provide some type of use to that building and that land.
Yeah, just one thing I want to say is, when this first came about back in 2019, I think it was February 2019, it was such a great idea. The museum and what they were going to do there. And it came through council, it was approved, it was voted on to help them out, and it's a shame. It's a shame that this didn't pan out, because it would have been great. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, because I had talked to some of the board members and the people involved there. It was going to be a lot of work. I just don't understand why they just didn't continue with it, because there hasn't been anything that anybody says or a letter saying, this is the reason why we're abandoning the museum. But it was great. It was a good idea. And I hope it would have worked out and it would have panned out. But it has to be a nonprofit organization to be able to run a museum like this. It would be very hard for the city itself to take charge of the museum and run it as a museum. I've talked to Mr. Kissinger about the possibilities of the building. There's been a lot of possibilities. There's been a lot of efforts of that building being occupied by different people. Restaurants and a driving course, and then a lot of things have come up. But nothing has worked out, especially in the field of golf. There is no money, there's no opportunities in golf, so nobody really wants to invest in that. And so let's hope that our recreation department can come up with something that we can use that building and use it for the children one way or the other, and maintain it, clean it up, and put it together with the dog park and the walking trails and the exercise trails under the health and wellness program. So that's I hope that's something we can work together. And Mr. Kissinger has already talked to the director of Recreation, Director of Parks and Recreation, and I know Mr. Kissinger has mentioned it to me that that's the direction that we might be going as a city and as a council in that direction, hopefully.
Plus, Mr. Mayor, you can see three ladies in the front rows, ears perking up when you said space available. So, I mean, that's definitely could be a possibility to do that Children's Advocacy Center.
Yes,
partner with
because
us.
health and wellness.
I know
health and
Renee will
wellness
be
is
part
very
of it.
important. We had a program that we haven't gotten off the ground for the Hohokam soccer field. There's supposed to be a trail there that goes from Ron Turley and Fletcher Park all the way to the top and goes around. It was supposed to have exercise stations and all of that. But this one, I think, is a lot better because of the terrain, the opportunities of the landscape itself, and allowing and then having those ponds recharged with water and having birds and having everything. It could be really nice for the city of Nogales and for everybody that visits Nogales. So I think that's the direction we're going, and I'm so glad that in 2019 we also approved the dog park, and so it's taken a while because of the COVID thing. It kind of messed it up. And matter of fact, because of COVID, they didn't start putting the fence up for the dog park this week. So hopefully we're going to get it in about a week from now.
Hopefully they haven't given me a date yet,
But
as soon as the food gets better.
yes, but that's what's causing it because they're coming out of town. So once we get that going, that's going to be the movement. That's going to get everything started in that area. So I want to thank John on that, and I want to thank also the director from Parks and Recreation for the work they've been doing because of what we expected to happen with the Children's Museum. Mr. Massey, thank you very much.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
And, I want to thank the citizens that brought it up to us because, they were uncomfortable with taking care of all the weeds and stuff like that. Back when it was approved, I fought a little to keep the driving range, and that we could do that. I think that'd be something where the green grass will change the site of the terrain there, and it's just a machine, and then something would pick up the balls, But I think that'd be an awesome thing to have right there. Back then, like I said, I fought it, but we wasn't successful because the city, the Children's Museum wanted further than where I thought they were going to get. And there's a car path, and I think from the car path towards the building, we could do one thing, and from the car path towards the driving range, we could do another thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman. All right, let's go to discussion items. Number 7, presentation and discussion, finance consultant contract. John? Mr. Massey.
Thank you, Mayor. I sent council a memo to summarize the history of our finance consultant and what her work has been with the city. I think she's proving her worth every day right now, Mayor. Although we're not ready to proceed with item C on orders tonight regarding the resolution, the order for the sale of the pension obligations bonds, she's working very, very diligently with us to keep that process on as close as possible onto a very tight timeline that we have in mind. And so that will also be brought back to the special meeting next week. But I want to also point out that the finance consultant's contract allowed us to hire a very quality person for a finance director. And she's enthusiastic, has a lot of relevant experience, but doesn't have quite the qualifications. And I was watching a program for HR professionals recently, and they're saying their advice out into the future is simplify your job descriptions as much as possible. Hire a good person and train them. You're not going to find qualified people walking in your door. It's becoming a very, very different hiring environment now. And so we have a training program in place. The finance director is making the progress outlined. And so in a couple of years, while she's coming up on a 1-year anniversary in April, and we're looking forward then to the following April, her second anniversary, where she will complete a very rigorous 2-year training program and then be fully certified. But right now, the finance consultant's role is if there's an issue that arises, and accounting is a profession, and professions mean you have to exercise professional judgment. And if you see something for the first time, you would like to be able to pick up the phone and call someone who has maybe seen it. And the consultant does give us that resource. And at a very, very cost-effective resource, too. This is a woman who's been a finance director for a much larger city, and she has approximately 40 years relevant experience. And that just gives our finance director the comfort and resource to know that she's not doing it alone. She's not. We don't want anyone to feel that they're just out on their own without support. But the alternative is if you didn't have that consultant to call, and other finance directors have done this over the years that I've seen and counseled, you call your auditors. And, the auditors are CPAs, and I was just reviewing a bill that we got for the auditors for 1 hour of work. They charge us $275, which is not a bad hourly rate, because I was talking to the city attorney for Parker, and they're going out with a bid looking for auditor service, and the response that they got was, and they're looking for hourly rate, they're looking at $350 and hoping to get a government rate around $300. So our finance consultant, her hourly rate is $150, and I will tell you, she doesn't bill us for every time she answers the phone. She's very judicious in how she bills us. So this is a resource that she will be she'll be available to talk to council next week via the remote technology as it relates to the bond offering that we're contemplating. But she's a great resource, and so my recommendation is let's keep her on as a consultant. She's not running the finance department, but she's just a really good resource. And I would take any questions from anyone.
Well, Mr. Massey, I didn't hear everything you said, but the last few words that you said, keep her as a consultant, I agree with you 100%.
Just an hourly, just as needed, because if we complete the process on the pension offering bond, I don't see anything that intense on the horizon. we may, use her a little bit as to the preparation of the budget for the upcoming year, because again, she has that experience and that wealth of knowledge of how to put it all together, and that presents one more year of close mentoring with our finance director. And then I think after that, we're ready to have her, take that role on.
Well, actually, Mr. Massey, in the near future, I haven't spoken to you about this, or John either, but in the near future, I do plan to ask the members of the council and John and you, if you're still acting, hopefully not.
Hopefully not, yes, Mayor.
That we should have a retreat, okay, for the budget season and for how we're going to continue this year with that. And I think she would be an asset to have her part of a retreat with the director, of course, Jean being there, and her helping us out on something like that. And I also believe that, there's no need to have somebody full-time, but we do need somebody to help us out on certain things. And just as long as we can get through this, not only the budget, but what we're doing with the bonds and everything. So,
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Massey, I know that the consultant's done an outstanding job, and your recommendation, is that in the capacity of a city manager or a city attorney?
I don't think I have to divide my hats on that one. She's very good, both as a professional resource for the finance director, and also, I do have a little bit of a role as city attorney in getting this bond process going, and so I've been working very closely with her on that as well. So yes, that is my recommendation, as acting city manager, obviously, but also I just want to say that as a city attorney, she understands the legal issues, and so we've talked through some of the things that will be presented to you next week.
Mm-hmm. So if I was to ask you for a legal opinion, you would go with the acting city managers?
Yeah. Well, a legal opinion as to what?
As to the recommendation.
Well, the legal opinion is that the city manager has the authority to retain professional consultants as needed, to make sure that the administration is running effectively and efficiently. But also, my opinion would be the city manager needs to take direction from city council. So if city council thought that was the wrong direction to go, then, I definitely will follow your direction.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the conflict of interest that we talked about when Mr. Maldonado mentioned that, when we ask for your recommendation as a city manager, and then we ask for a legal opinion, of course, you're probably going to favor the city manager's decision, right?
I don't see the conflict, Mayor. So I'm not that. I don't see it. All due respect, Councilman Bojorquez, I think I'm being very clear that under the manager form of government, the city manager does have certain authority, and I've expressed this also when we went through this a couple of years ago with a city manager who came before the council and said, I've made my decision. If you overrule my decision, I'm sticking with my decision. I'm not that type of person. I opined at the time that the city manager was way out on a limb on that. This is a council manager form of government. Council can direct the manager on how to perform duties that are well within the manager's, a normal level of authority. So that's why I'm bringing this to council. You have my recommendation about how to proceed. I think I've made the points. But at the same time, if you think, no, this isn't the right one, or we just don't like the idea of having a finance consultant, then I'm ready to say, okay, I'll follow your direction. I don't see the conflict.
So on your recommendation, are you saying that we should keep her until we get over the PSRS issue?
I'm saying that she more than earns her keep here. She is a valuable resource. It's a relatively low-cost resource. And so, yes, she's working very diligently right now, very intensely on this project. And I don't see her working that intensely out into the future, obviously. I did bring up the idea of her working and helping me as manager to prepare a budget, as well as the rest of the resources that we have on staff. So that's my presentation, and if council would like to take a vote, that's fine. But yeah, I think I've made my points.
Mayor, I have a question. Mr. Kissinger and Mr. Massey, it's common for every department to have consultants, right? This is not something that's totally weird, or I imagine legal department has consultants.
Yeah. Right. Mr. Mayor, if I can respond,
Yes,
that's an excellent point. I meant to bring that up. Yes, as many years as I've been doing this job, new things arise all the time. And of course, when we had that labor issue come before council, I reached out and we had a labor attorney here advising the council on that particular issue. And specialists in that area, they're very expensive. And so, yes, you would like to minimize that, but at the same time, if you need that resource to be brought to bear on any particular issue, then professional services, that's within the discretion of the city manager up to a certain level of authority. And then, so I'd say legal is obviously the area where we go out to specialists very commonly. And, well, maybe not commonly, but as needed. And finance, obviously, is another area. But these are the professions where you need to exercise professional judgment. And if you don't have the experience, you don't want to guess. You want to be able to call someone who has had that experience and can advise you on how to exercise your judgment.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
So regarding Mr. Councilman Bonilla's question, so wouldn't this open up a can of worms, like any other department director say, hey, I don't understand this, I'm going to hire a consultant?
Well, I would rather that they bring problems to my attention than to guess. When you guess, that's when you're going to make a mistake and you're going to cost the city, potentially much more than what it costs to pick up the phone and call a consultant. My problem is, you don't know when a department director is making a good decision. Sometimes they don't, bring a problem up to the chain of command. I don't want to discourage people from bringing issues. And if I don't know how to resolve the issues and our finance director doesn't know how to resolve the issue, we'll find someone to answer the question. And we want to do things right because that's how you keep the city out of trouble.
Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Massey, it's obvious you're very convinced that Mrs. Walker is a...
No, I would like to not keep... I've never mentioned her name. I had to have a conversation with the mayor and with her. She's not pleased that we're putting this on the agenda. And she mentioned to me that she declined, Mayor, engagements with 5 cities last week. She wants to pull back on her workload. And she's putting in a lot of time with the city of Nogales to get the $16 million bond offering together. So please keep her name out of the public. Thank you.
I don't understand why you get so upset, Mr. Massey. I think, we have to be transparent, and I'm just asking, and I think I have a right to ask. One of the reasons that I'm asking about this is because if you recall, Mr. Massey, the meeting of September 8th, 2021, it was discussed that, in fact, the mayor mentioned that it was time to step it up. It was time to cut your wings and so forth. You can see the meeting yourself. And in fact, the mayor said that he expected, with the experience that the finance director was hired with, that she would be able to, get the experience on the job, that she was qualified when we hired her. So that she had all the she had the credentials to do so, and so forth. And the reason that I'm concerned is because it's costing some money. I have been the one that's been asking about the invoices and how much it's been costing. And as a council member, I think I have a right to bring up what the cost is of having this consultant, like we have every right to ask about all the consultants that are hired with taxpayers' monies. And I know that it might, bother someone when we do put things on the agenda, such as this one. And I understand when someone needs assistance, and it's obvious this is the case. And I'm not doubting anybody's expertise and skill set. I think that I have a right to ask, and I don't understand why it bothers you so much that I'm asking these questions.
No, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you? Okay.
No, but if you want to make a motion,
That's
make a
good.
motion.
Yeah.
What didn't happen on the September 8th meeting is it wasn't on the agenda and there was no vote. It's on the agenda tonight, and I'm telling you, and I'm telling Mayor and Council, I will take direction. If you want to make a motion, make a vote, I will take direction.
Well, I'm just discussing it. We'll make a motion soon. Okay. Can I ask one more question, Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you provide at another meeting what's the cost of having the consulting services?
Yes, we can certainly make that as part of the finance report.
Yeah, that would
We
be
will
great.
just do that from now on.
Yeah.
Every time we get an invoice,
Yeah.
we'll put that on
Yeah.
so that, as you said, you can ask questions, and if there's any issues, we can go over that.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that we're getting value for our dollar. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and I don't doubt the skill set and the knowledge and the experience, like I said. I don't think we're questioning that, or at least I'm not. I just want to be able to talk about it, and because at the last meeting we had some concerns about that. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Massey, I remember when I was in Public Works, we had consultants for almost everything. And Mr. Guerra, do you have consultants, Mr. Guerra?
Yes, sir, I do.
Mr. Barcenas, do you have consultants, sir?
Yes, sir.
Every department has consultants, okay? And they cost money. And you probably had some too when you were a director.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't? You didn't contact HUD for anything?
HUD? No, they contacted me.
Oh, they did? Oh, good man. Well, I just want to say, people, that consultants are used by every city.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how experienced your finance director, your engineer, your I don't know if police and fire have consultants, but all the other departments, I don't care how experienced you are. You're going to be confronted by something that you never expected, and you need to make that phone call. And Mr. Massey said that. We have to make those phone calls. So Mr. Massey, I totally agree that, we need to be able to call her, not with a complete contract like she's been in the past, but to consult. And I hope that she's willing to help us out. Put it that way.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Well, I'm not questioning that the other departments need consultants. It's just the time frame that's really in question. And I'm pretty sure that every department at some time, has a problem where they have to hire somebody that specializes in that area. I'm just, concerned about the time frame.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is a question for former council members. How were the budget talks before Pat Walker? I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. Before this consultant helped us out.
Terrible.
Disorganized?
Thank you.
Okay. We go through this presentation is enough, I guess. B, I guess we're gonna, says discussion possible direction to staff regarding the finance consultant contract. Okay, where do you want to take this?
Mr. Mayor? Well, I put that item on the agenda, but, being that the other item was presented before me, and I'm kind of debating with the assistant city manager about the same issue. And, I want to say that I have the finance director has been here almost a year, and she's doing a good job. And I have full confidence, that she's doing, because she's proven herself that she's done a good job. So, she has to face some of these problems, and that's the only way she's going to learn. But I have full confidence that she will learn and do a good job. So, I'm not going to go ahead and discuss this issue anymore, because I heard Mr. Massey said that he had already consulted with you regarding this issue. So I'm going to go ahead and table this item.
Okay. Oh, okay, is there a motion to table? Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Could you please go to the podium? Mr. Kissinger, may I ask you a question? Gene? Or Mr. Massey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it relates to this topic,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So we're on the agenda topic. Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Do you find yourself sometimes needing this person that we're talking about? For
Yes.
any reason at all?
Absolutely. I mean, why, at this point, why shouldn't I? It's becoming easier for me every day, learning my position. But we're in the middle of the audit, and every once in a while, there's a question, hey, last year you did this. I have to go to her. She did the audit last year.
Okay.
And I can't say, well, I don't know, give him an answer.
Okay, look, I trust that you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay? And I've said it to you several times in the past. Okay? And I, and thank you very much. You've learned a lot, and I know you learned a lot, because working for a municipality isn't as easy as it is. But you said you do need her, or need the person if it's necessary.
If it's necessary.
Not an everyday thing.
No. I talk to her maybe once a month. Maybe.
Thank you very much. That's all I want to say. Okay, number 8, executive session. I need a motion to go into executive session. All right. Thank you.
If I can be heard, Mayor.
Yes.
There's 3 items on the executive session. The first one is executive session under A1, which is personnel matters, and the council will be presented with applications for the city magistrate, and then we'll talk about which, if any one of those, you would like to interview. On number 2, we're going to have Mary O'Grady, our outside attorney, be present and to give the council advice as to the current. Oh, I'm sorry, that was number 3. Number 2 will be very, very quick. That's the grievance with the local union with the fire department. And in that one, Mayor, I'd like the fire chief to be called in.
Okay.
And I'd like the deputy city manager to be in with us on all of these.
Okay, perfect. Yes, Mr. Mayor?
And so the directors that aren't going to be in part of the executive session and don't have anything to do with our orders, can I go ahead and dismiss them? So they
Yes,
can go home?
yes, you may.
If you don't know who you are, check with me.
We'll take Mr. Massey, we're going to take a 5-minute break before we go into executive session.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ready? Okay, we reconvene from executive sessions, and now we're going to orders number 9. A, consideration possible action on order 2022-02-010, an order of the council of the city of Nogales, Arizona, authorizing a land exchange between Santa Cruz County and the city of Nogales and Monte Carlo neighborhood. Second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. B, consideration possible action on order 2022-02-011, an order of the council of the city of Nogales, Arizona, adopting an amendment to the city personnel manual section 18.03 sick leave. Do I have a second? Discussion. Yes, go ahead.
And I don't know who can explain this one item. Is this different from the previous manual that we have regarding the sick leave?
Yes, Mayor, Councilmember Bojorquez, this is an amendment, so it is changing the personnel manual. It doesn't change anything for the first 40 hours of sick time that a person uses per calendar year. But after 40 hours, we don't have to be limited the way that the statute limits employers as far as inquiring what the use of sick hours is for, getting documentation, things like that. So unfortunately, we have a few people who seem to be, it's always a few, Mayor, it's not a bunch, who seem to be evidently, abusing 6 hours, and then when you ask for documentation, and they refuse it because under the statute you have to be using sick hours for 3 consecutive days, and so yes, we'd have to respect those types of limitations for the first 40 hours, but after the first 40 hours, what this amendment does is it authorizes department directors to issue written notice to their departments that they will be required to document after the 40 hours. And
so before, when you took 3 consecutive days of sick leave, you had to get an authorization from a director, right?
What the statute says, if you take more than 3 consecutive sick hours, an employer may require documentation. And our manual does a little bit more than that. It says anytime you take more than 3 consecutive days, you shall provide documentation. But it's where it looks like there's abuse going on, but it's not 3 consecutive days and the employee flatly refuses to provide documentation. Well, they can do that for 40 hours because that's what the statute requires. After 40 hours, and we give our employees double that, right? We give 96 hours a year for 40-hour work weeks. That's very generous. We don't have to be that generous, but that's obviously something that the city has chosen to do. But in exchange for being that generous, we could ask for documentation.
So this abuse was throughout the city, through all the employees?
I don't really want to get into the specifics. I think it's enough that I'm saying that there are instances of sick hour abuse, and this is one way of trying to get it under control. And yeah, a few people ruin it, maybe for everyone, but this just allows some departments that are experiencing this to have the tool to say, okay, you've already exhausted your 40 hours, and now you have to document every time you need to use sick hours.
Okay, thank
you. Yes.
I looked at this very closely.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I know you can't hear me well. I can't hear you very well either, so I guess we're the same. I looked at your request very closely, and so if you have some people, and I'll read what you have said here, that some people are basically misusing their sick days?
There's strong inference that there's misuse going
So why
on.
aren't we dealing with those that are allegedly misusing it, using the personnel policies and following, the policies? I'm sure there's some type of a, disciplinarian action that's taken.
It's Mayor, it's very difficult to discipline on misuse of sick hours under the statute. And I was consulting with my employment my employment attorney contact, and he advised me there's a lot of litigation going on in Arizona right now where employers are trying to, control the use of sick hours because obviously that presents difficulties in meeting your missions, your daily goals and tasks. But he's the one that advised me, but the statute only requires 40 hours of sick time, and many employers are adopting this type of a manual or amendment to their personnel manual where, yes, the first 40 hours, if you want to, take time off and not let us know what's going on or anything like that, you can get away with it for a little while. But then, after they exhaust 40 hours, then you can be more inquisitive and more demanding as it relates to documentation that justifies it. We don't want people to not take sick hours. If they're sick and they have the hours, it's just, let us know, and be a little bit more cooperative than what the restrictions under the statute currently limit us from doing.
Yeah. And I have another question. And the reason I'm asking you, Mr. Massey, is just so I could be clear. So if an employee wants to use more than 3 days a sick day,
Right.
they are required to submit some type of doctor's notice or anything of that sort?
Mr. Mayor, so let's distinguish between the first 40 hours, and I'm taking my mask off, Mary. I hope I'm not creating a hazard, but so hopefully I can be more easily understood. So we're going to distinguish between the first 40 hours and any use of sick hours after the 40 hours. Under the first 40 hours, you have a right to use your sick hours. And what the statute and what our HR manual says, because we follow the language of the statute, is where possible, you're to give prior notice to the employer. But yes, if you're sick, you can take it. It's your right. And if you have a doctor's appointment, for example, you should give prior notice because you have that advanced planning element associated with that you wouldn't have associated with a need to stay home with a sick child, for example. In that situation, just give as much notice as reasonable under the circumstances. But if you need to take sick hours, even after you've exhausted the first 40 hours, advanced notice, yes, as much as possible. But even if you're just taking 12 hours off or, a half a day off or whatever, at that point, the department director would be authorized to say, okay, if you're taking that time off, go to the urgent care or something and show us that you're sick. And that can be applied on a case-by-case basis. But yes, even after 40 hours, you can take, a day off. You could take 3 days off. You could take 5 days off if you really are sick and you have those sick hours. We're just going to ask that you document that.
That you document it by
Well, the usual way of documenting is like a doctor's note. But that's going to be something that the department director would have some discretion to determine how much documentation would be appropriate under the circumstances.
And that's not a violation of HIPAA?
I'm sorry.
That's not a violation of HIPAA.
Oh, HIPAA, yes, we in the HR manual does say we can't necessarily inquire why you were sick, but some sort of documentation that says, yes, this person was sick for this time and needs the days off. But yeah, HIPAA is something that we would need to balance. Yeah, we can't be, our need to make sure that sick hours are being used appropriately versus their right for medical privacy. Mm-hmm. Definitely, but still asking for something from a nurse or a doctor, a general statement, something like that.
Well, and I have one more question. I just feel very comfortable about this because I feel that those that are allegedly abusing this, I think those should be addressed accordingly. And I don't think everybody should pay for a few that are allegedly abusing the policy. So I feel very uncomfortable about how you are, asking us to pass this. Because I think that, I'm concerned about HIPAA. I'm concerned about people, I was an employee back sometime in my life, and, people get sick, their kids get sick, their parents get sick, and I don't really see why this is necessary if a few are allegedly abusing it. So I think Department Chair, is there something wrong?
Yes, Mayor, if I can respond to that. I didn't want to single people out.
No, I'm not asking you.
But what I'm going to say is there's the department. What happens is when people call in sick, and then you need to pull people in to staff their shift. Now you're creating a hardship on those individuals as well. So first of all, you're calling people and seeing if they're going to be willing to work overtime because this person is calling in shift and now there's a need for a position to be filled. But if that person doesn't work overtime, or if there's no voluntary person to work overtime, then you may be holding people back involuntarily. And then there's a problem with that too, because we're getting insubordination when people are not staying back. Mm-hmm. So you are, when someone abuses sick time, and there's inferences there that there is abusive sick time, because if they first ask for vacation and vacation is denied, and then they say, okay, I'm going to use my sick hours. Okay. But it is hard to discipline on that because you're going to be running up against potential daily fines under the statute. And this says, okay, this gets us out of that regime where if we do decide to investigate and do decide that there is an abuse of sick hours, we're not going to be exposed to potential daily fines if we get it wrong or if we can't prove it to the satisfaction of a court of law, because that's where some of this stuff goes, is into a court of law, and you don't know if you're going to prevail or not until judgment, and then by the time judgment gets entered, you're going to be responsible for, I think it's $150 a day fines, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's tens of thousands of dollars by that point. And so this is a way of saying, okay, we will respect, obviously, the first 40 hours, and we'll be very limited and very circumspect about applying discipline. But it's very hard. I'm just going to say that. It's very hard to discipline for abuse of sick hours when you're facing that kind of potential liability. So I respectfully disagree that we should be addressing those situations individually. The liability and the risk is such that you're not going to go there. And so you're going to let them take their 40 hours whenever they want to take their 40 hours because of the potential liability. And then after the 40 hours, that's when we can individually address them. When we have more of an ability to ask for documentation, for essentially any sick time that they use. And so if you don't pass this amendment, what it is like, okay, the limitations from the statute apply all year long, If you're going to take 100 hours of sick time, 200, I mean, there are people who have a lot of sick hours accrued, and if they're going to take every day off, let's say every afternoon, I'm just going to be sick, and it's not 3 consecutive days in a row, and so I don't have to give you any reason. I'm just going to say I'm sick, and they've, done whatever they wanted to do with their schedule. I mean, that makes management very hard, and the statute ties management's hands pretty severely. And so this amendment is, I think, reasonable under the circumstances to say, okay, you have your 40 hours. That's what the statute requires. After 40 hours, we're generous and we give you more than 40 hours, but we're going to allow management to, and I think we're going to try to be very reasonable about it. And if there's HIPAA issues, we'll respect HIPAA issues. But we just, at that point, we can become a little bit more proactive and a little bit more, trying to manage our people properly and manage our departments properly without possibly facing the risk of daily fines.
And Mayor, if I could just have one more question to follow up to that. What's the cause for discipline? I mean, what type of discipline action would you take?
Oh, we start very slow. We start with possibly with a counseling notice, like a written counseling notice, and we've done that before. And then when they continue to, let's say, not provide documentation or whatever, then we go to a letter of reprimand, and then we go to a suspension, and we don't want to fire people over something like this. We want to just get them to adjust their work habits, maybe consistent with the needs of the department.
Well, and that's why I think that this is something that we should perhaps, in my opinion, table, because I think we should look into it and review it more closely. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? No? Go ahead.
Mr. Massey, is there certain departments that you see where this situation is happening?
Well, I'm reluctant to say, to point out a particular department, but in answer to a direct question, I will answer a direct question. We're getting problems in the fire department. People are taking sick time, and then when they call out sick, it's creating a ripple effect, and it cascades to the point where someone maybe needs to be held back, and they have small children, and they don't have childcare set for that day because they were expecting to be off that day, and they walk off the job because they say that my children are more important than this job, and you can survive without me somehow. And we are addressing that with discipline. So in my view, in my judgment, I think if we can just stop having people call out sick as often as they are, then the cascading effect is nipped in the bud at that point, and we don't have to hold people back against their will, or if they, violate the direct order, then we're writing them up for insubordination. I don't want to create hardships on my employees if I don't have to. So I think this is a more proactive way of addressing the problem. Those people who are calling out sick, the way that it is now is they don't have to document. And so it's a very easy thing to do, and it creates a ripple effect to other employees. And I don't want to have to do, but you can see if someone's going to walk off the job and they get written up a couple of times, what you're really looking at then is termination. I mean, that's the only thing there. I don't want to terminate people. I would rather address the issue about people using sick time inappropriately.
Well, Mr. Massey, I'm going to call for the question. I think you're already
Sir,
enough.
I have a right to continue.
Okay, go ahead.
Was this by anything triggered by an instance that happened during Christmas in the fire department?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not aware of it.
Where an employee had worked his shifts and then was obligated to work an extra day and he had commitments.
Right, and so what did he do?
Huh?
He walked off the job, right?
Yeah.
And did he get written up?
Yeah.
So I don't want that to happen.
But
I don't want to have to hold people back. I want to address the problem.
You just mentioned that people have obligations.
People do have obligations, right?
And that person had already worked 3 shifts in a row.
Well, again, I don't want to. I think we're getting too far into it, and I'm not familiar exactly, so I don't think that it triggered.
You're familiar because you knew what I was talking about.
Well, anyways, I don't think this is the right forum to get that level of detail. But what I'm pointing out is that, and I'm not familiar with that particular shift, but I will tell you that on other shifts, what provokes the problem is someone calling out sick. And there's indications that people call out sick whenever they want, and it makes a problem in the department. And so if we can address that problem, what I'm saying is if we can address that problem, we won't have to hold people back involuntarily. I think that's a very severe rule, but it is a fair rule, and it's needed in order to maintain staffing for our residents here in Nogales for safety and health of the residents. But it is it's a harsh rule.
But again, Mr. Massey, just like Councilwoman Montiel said, it's particular situations, particular departments, how I said, that, if you're working 3 hours or 3-day shifts, the way the fire department does, and then you're obligated to work a 4th shift or a 5th shift.
Right.
And it's not doable all the time.
I hope you're listening to me, Councilman, because what I'm saying is this is a solution to that problem. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a first step to address that problem so we don't hold people back. We don't have to hold people back if people work their assigned shifts. Okay? And it solves that problem. So I think we're on the same page on that, honestly. If you're listening to me, I'm saying let's address the misuse of sick hours, and if people work their assigned shift, you don't have to hold people back.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. That's the goal.
The one I'm talking about, we were talking about, he had already worked his shifts.
I don't want to get into specifics, Mayor.
But you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure that I do, honestly.
Okay, I call for the question. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, the ayes have it. C, consideration possible action of order 2022-02-012, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, approving the sale.
Oh, this one
That's the one
we're going to do that next week. Oh, no, Mayor, that's fine. It's late.
Yes.
I mean,
See, that's why I need sick leave. That's all. I hope you can approve it for me. D, consideration of the possible action of order 2022-02-013, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, reappointing Mr. Ed Delsey to the Nogales Santa Cruz Board, County Board, County Board, Public Library. Second. Thank you very much.
May I,
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Just want to say thank you, Joanne.
Consideration possible action of order 2022-02-014, an order of the Council of the City of Nogales, Arizona, approving a settlement agreement with Sierra Collections and Consulting LLC.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
So we're tabling C, right, Mayor?
Yes. No.
Yes, 9C, my intent is to present that to City Council at a special meeting next Wednesday following the NHA meeting. We just weren't ready. There's a lot of details that still are need to come together, but we'll explain it next week.
Mayor and council report on current events. Almost just before, Mr. Kissinger, I just want to say one thing. I just want you to let everybody in the street department, with the employees, the director, the supervisor, let them know that they're doing a great job. Okay? I've been looking around, and I've gotten calls from people in neighborhoods that they're cleaning everything.
Microphone.
They're cleaning everything, the sidewalks, they're repairing sidewalks. They're, especially in the Frank Reed area, they're very happy with the work that they've been doing there. And also a lot of potholes that they've taken care of, preparing for the future jobs that they're going to be doing with fog seal and chip seal and everything. And they're really, really doing a great job. And it's unbelievable. And I want to let you know so you can let them know, because I'm not going to go over there and talk to them.
Mr. Mayor, I want to let you know that I get a lot of inquiries about street issues from all members of the council at various times, and I do pass those on to our street crews, and I usually am talking to our street superintendent daily. It's my routine to talk to him, and I thank him on behalf of the city mayor and council every day, but I'll make sure that I continue doing that and let them know.
Yeah, because they're really, really doing.
And I do that with all departments, by the way.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that I've ran into some people at the store. They tell me they want to thank the city for, the cleaning and not only potholes and stuff. They're talking about cleaning and weedy sidewalks and everything in neighborhoods.
Mayor?
So they're doing a great job.
May I?
Okay.
I know, you guys all
All right.
go.
So, yes.
Just want to say that, Mr. Kissinger, thank you too, because every time like the mayor says, there's a concern out there about a street or something has to be cleaned, you're very efficient, you get back to me immediately. And I really appreciate that type of feedback and service from you.
Yeah, they've been doing a great job, John.
Thank you.
John. Okay, on January the 12th, I met with David Figueroa, who is a representative from the governor of Sonora's office with the Sonora and Arizona in the commission part in Phoenix. So he's going to be doing a lot of work in the area with the border region and stuff like that. And he wanted to just inform me that the governor of Sonora wants to start having some more meetings here locally with Presidente Municipal in Nogales, Sonora, about the relations and also about economic development. So David Figueroa is one of the new members that the governor has appointed. Then we met with Christine Thurston of the State Department, which is the land department. We talked about that briefly. And then I helped organize also a fundraiser for a friend at the VFW, and we did a great job. And Councilman Diaz, thank you with that too. You've been a great asset and a help with that, and we've been doing really good. Hopefully we can help him out with his problem. And also I attended an event in Nogales, Sonora, honoring Maria Elena Gallego Lechuga. She was presented and appointed to be the president of the Consejo Directivo. On January 26th, that's when I met with Donna Jackson, the founder of the Nogales Buffalo Legacy. Welcomed her to go over the plans of the tribute event, which was, as you know, it was a great event. And then the pre-meeting for the trunk line ribbon cutting ceremony with Commissioner Maria Elena Ginner on the 27th. Then I also attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the trunk line and International Outfall Interceptor Rehabilitation Project along with Mr. Kissinger. On January the 28th, I attended welcome reception at the Americana with a member of the Jackson family. And that's not Michael Jackson. That is, I expected you guys to chuckle a little bit. Come on, guys. John Jackson was there. I know, Mr. Messi. And January 29th, I was invited to be the guest speaker for the Nogales Buffalo Soldiers tribute at the Gazebo. and also followed up with the Nogales Buffalo Soldiers Days, and then we had the event also at the cemetery, which was a very good event, and I want to thank Councilman Diaz again for reading out the names of all the Buffalo Soldiers, and you did a great job, sir. And that's it. Vice Mayor?
Okay, we already have the calendar of events for 2022. I gave you a copy, all of you, but I'll just go ahead and review it. We're going to have the display of butterflies at Caron Park on the month of March, but we don't know as of right now the date. But then we're going to include all the school district with this project. Then for Fiesta de las Flores would be April the 30th, also at Caron Park. Then Fiestas Patrias on September the 17th on Caron Park. Dia de los Muertos, October the 29th on Caron Park. The Christmas Casitas, the setup November 16th, and then ready for display November the 24th, which is Thanksgiving. And they're going to be all the month of December through the first week of January, also Caron Park. Now, Alfredo Velazquez wants to participate with mini casitas at the old courthouse. They are going to build their own casitas, of course, a little bit smaller than the ones that we have right now. We also have the nativities. They're going to be also set up at the old courthouse. The grand opening would be December the 4th. We're thinking about a display of from 30 to 40 nativities, which is something that it's really going to be unbelievable. Every year is getting bigger and bigger, and this time Alfredo wanted it to be at the old courthouse. These all, we're working together, the city, the Mexican consulate, the Cultural Arts Committee, and Alfredo through the school district. That's all I have. Mr. Kissinger, thank you very much for the solar lighting or the Welcome to Nogales sign. But you still need the one right at the entrance on Nogales. That's not there yet. No, the others are unbelievable. Yeah, thank you.
You better get on it, John.
Okay, this past month, in January, I attended 2 fundraisers at the VFW. On January 27th, I attended a meeting at the Instituto Municipal del Deporte de Nogales, Sonora, to coordinate binational events concerning cultural and sporting events between Mexico and the United States. There are actually 7 events scheduled, binational events, between Nogales, Sonora and Nogales, Arizona. It's going to kick off at our city rec center with a basketball clinic on the 25th and 26th of March, sponsored by the Phoenix Suns. On January 28th, 29th, and 30th, I attended all the tributes to the Buffalo Soldiers, and that was great. They really went out loud and represented their Buffalo Soldiers great. All the dependents and people related to all these guys were out here, and it was a great 3 days. It was pretty tiring, but it was a great 3 days of just dinners, partying, and taking all this history. And Nogales is very historical. And also on today in the morning, we had a meeting at the City Rec Center with Director Marcos Martinez, with the Instituto Municipal del Deporte, to affirm dates and see venues, and to also get the sisterhood ceremony going to be done sometime this month if possible. So we're working on that, and we'll keep you updated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excuse me. I also attended the special event with the Buffalo Soldiers, and I was telling Mr. Diaz in heart, I did contribute to the special event up at the VFW for the special person, contributed through the company. And I've talked to Miss Travers on Parks and Rec and trying to get more sports. The kids have been asking me. We're working on Little League right now. Hopefully getting going by March 19th is our set date right now for opening ceremony. But I've been getting questions on other sports, soccer, basketball. I've told them we've got basketball going on right now at the rec, and but trying to get more soccer kids involved also. Thank you.
Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. I also attended the two fundraisers at VFW, attended the Buffalo Soldiers event this past weekend, and I've been having meetings with the county about some serious flood issues that we have, and I will continue to have meetings with them until we can sort this thing out. But meanwhile, I've had a few meetings with the county.
Thank you. All right, Councilman.
I also attended the 3-day weekend with the event that they have for the Buffalo Soldiers. Friday we went to Tacos and Tarros and we met some of the descendants, and then on Saturday I went to Karen Park, and that was a beautiful event there. And of course at the evening get together there at the Americana, and also the event over at the cemetery. That's all.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It was a busy month, and I especially want to thank the Buffalo Soldiers Committee. I think the city of Nogales enjoyed all their events, and I'm very appreciative of them organizing this event for everyone here at the city. And like I said, what a wonderful event. Very historical. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, future agenda items? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, on the reports, just a clarification on why council members are prohibited from discussing any issues with city employees. I would request that the city attorney render a legal opinion which will clarify the limits of the right of the city council members, including the mayor, to speak with city employees.
Is that for an agenda item, Councilman?
Yes, for reports, just a clarification item.
So can I get that in writing?
Sure.
I'm sorry, but you
I know it's pretty long. I'll give you something in writing.
I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, and I
was trying to take notes, but
I have another request. An update on the Royal Road water lines, and is there any future plans for sidewalks at the Royal Road area?
Did you get that, John?
I did, sir.
Okay.
that we got. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
I have a couple, but I will email them to you, Mr. Massey.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Is that it?
Oh, Mayor, so just to synopsize.
Agenda item, Mr. Messi?
I have a study session, and we have a study session. We'll have a special session and an NHA meeting next week.
Yes, on Wednesday.
On Wednesday. So I guess starting at 2 and 3. John?
We'll get that. We'll put that agenda together for you, Mr. Maldonado, going forward.
4.
We'll get that. We'll put together that agenda for the housing meeting. We have city manager update on that meeting. And Mike, you have something possibly.
The
City magistrate will be on there, and then something else might happen. There's quite a few things
right.
besides and
if the bond issues and documents all come together, we'll be presenting that to the council for action as well. Thank you.
Plus, Esther, I'm assuming your item you want for the regular meeting, right?
Yeah, watch. For the second.